From brewing politics in the paddock by sacking Mattia Binotto, to absolutely failing to make a car suitable for the Bahrain Grand Prix, 2023 is already Ferrari's worst season yet. So the real question is, why is Ferrari so bad this year? Well, for starters, it's their car. Like, yeah, last year, they had huge troubles with strategies, yet their car was the fastest on the grid. And now, it's a nightmare to work with. Literally, not even the first race in, and Charles Leclerc was already out. Poor guy lost power in his Ferrari and had to retire from third place, which was because of the issues with the control electronic unit. And guess what? It was brand new since it had already been changed before the race.
They go wheel to wheel, Verstappen goes a bit deep, but he makes that overtake stick.
Now, talk about bad luck, cause as if putting insult to injury, he had to take a 10-place grid penalty in the next race at Jeddah, all because he exceeded the max number of engine parts allowed for the season. And that's just the first race. If I go on about Jeddah and then the disastrous Australian Grand Prix, you and I will be sobbing by the end. Like, the Albert Park race made it feel like the Ferrari cars were just Williams but in red, cause Leclerc was done after a few seconds in the opening lap. He beached into the gravel after making contact with Lance Stroll. And as for Carlos Sainz, well, he was severely punished for the crash in the last lap of the race, and that cost him his position in the top 10. So, the Australian Grand Prix wasn't bright and sunny like how they hoped it to be, and quite frankly, this entire season won't be bright for Ferrari at all, cause reliability issues will cost them their entire reputation at this point, and if the stunt in Bahrain didn't scream loud enough, then just know that the car probably has a mind of its own now. Even the new team principal, Fred Vasseur, said that the control unit failure was unexpected, and changing the engines in both the Ferraris will help them start from a clean sheet. But honestly, they're not convincing anyone here. It wasn't even the first race, and they already had engine issues.
Hamilton still ahead of that Ferrari. Hamilton has been on these tyres since the first lap.
Not just that, but it's pretty apparent that the SF23 is no way near the pace last year's car was. But it's either that or all other cars are insanely fast now, cause even in Bahrain, Sands was no match for the Red Bulls in front of him. Heck, even the Aston Martin took away his chances with the podium. As for Jeddah, they finished barely in the points, and no one would want to recall the disappointing performance recently. So it's pretty evident that the 2023 Ferrari is just not it. It's lacking pace, it's unable to survive without a fresh power change, and according to Vasseur, it just won't suit the track circuits. Now, that's the opposite of what a car should be doing in Formula 1, and if that didn't excuse Ferrari's position this year, wait till you hear about what happens in the pit wall, cause Ferrari's strategic calls aren't helping them out there as well. Right, so last year, Ferrari was terrible with strategies, and all because of this shortcoming, they lost out on so many things, including the World Championship, and well, things aren't looking any different now. I mean, yeah, there weren't many strategy issues in Bahrain, but there was an obvious miscommunication in Saudi Arabia. Like, Leclerc was a bit late to the party to know that Hamilton had pitted, and that alone lost him a position to the Briton. And if you're in a sport like Formula 1, being slow is the last thing you should be. Other than that, I don't know much about how exactly Ferrari's gonna do strategically, cause so far, they finished the race with only one car on the track, and it looks like the Ferrari drivers take turns as to who's gonna stay on track this time, with, of course, Leclerc making the most sacrifices. Like, come on Ferrari, an entire winter break later, and the only visible change you brought was a change in management? And oh boy, speaking of which, this management change unsettled a lot of things back in the paddock. So, was replacing Mattia Binotto with Fred Vasseur the right decision? I mean, it's probably too early to judge him, but it hasn't been the start he would have hoped for at all. Plus, sacking Binotto was probably an extremely problematic move, since the guy has been there since 1995. So, he knows everyone, and everyone around the grid knows him, and he's got close connections with people that were in Ferrari solely cause of him. Like, remember David Sanchez, head of vehicle concept? Well, he left for McLaren right after Binotto Binotto. Like, geez, talk about loyalty. And not just that, but there had been rumors that other key figures like Laurent Mekies, the assistant team principal of Ferrari, was gonna leave as well. Imagine an entirely new management alongside the car issues. Now that would send Ferrari to a whole nother level of chaos. But Vasseur shut those rumors down and tried to convince everyone that things on the management side were under control. As if. Cause Vasseur underestimated how much effort would be needed to make Ferrari great again. And it's already taking a toll on the old fella. So now, he's just trying to pick up all the pieces so that he could improve the team as a whole. But maybe he's a bit delusional with his approach because he's done the opposite of what he had aimed for. And honestly, last year, things were much better than how they are right now. Like, they were literally leading the championship right now. Not just that, but they had Red Bull shoved all the way down the leaderboard.
Verstappen is going wheel to wheel down the main straight with Hamilton, and Verstappen is ahead going into turn 1.
But now, any chances to compete with their previous contender just sounds very bleak right now. Cause Ferrari's really going through it this year, and Red Bull genuinely has some wings now, considering how they're flying in every race.
And you can do that gently once or twice, but you can't do it at the last moment.
But one thing's for sure though, this gap would keep on increasing until either Red Bull gets a bunch of DNFs or Ferrari gets a hold of itself. And with how things are looking right now, Ferrari can say goodbye to the second place in the Constructors' Championship, cause considering how Mercedes isn't giving up, and how Aston Martin has become a prodigy of the top teams, the Italian team needs a miracle to catch up to them.
It's an amazing feeling. It means that the start of the season is very soon, which is exciting times.
So, is there still hope for Ferrari in 2023? I mean, it's just the third race of the season, and this season is Formula One's longest ever with 20 more races to go.
18, he put those tyres on, he is nursing them home towards the end of 57 laps.
So, right now, there's more than enough time to turn things around, and you know, it's probably better that Ferrari got a hold of their engine issues at the beginning of the season. Cause imagine if they were the championship leaders and boom, engine problems in the middle of the season. Now, that's critical damage since the championship trophy would once again be snatched from their hands.
He's set to overtake Max Verstappen in the race. He's had to cope with technical problems at the end, but Charles Leclerc has sailed through it all.
But since the problems rose quite early on, we can assume that Ferrari's gonna work on them. And with how Vasseur is bent upon bringing the team back to greatness,
Provisional pole for Charles Leclerc.
I bet there would be no stone unturned while fixing the problems. Plus, there's like almost a month until the next race in Azerbaijan. So Ferrari, along with the rest of the paddock, would have plenty of time to work on themselves. But for how the season has started for the red team, 2023 has been Ferrari's worst season yet.
It is a 1-2 finish for the Scuderia. Has sailed through it all. He sees the checkered flag. He takes victory. Charles Leclerc wins the Austrian Grand